In this video, we will look at 5 questions from Paper 1, Part B1. First, Part B1, Question 24. This is a sentence completion question that requires you to make a basic inference about a text. Let's start by looking at the question. It asks you to explain the quote. No, this isn't a class for aspiring advertising executives, from line 2 of the text. To do this, you need to complete a sentence that begins with, people might get the wrong idea because. In other words, your answer should be the reason why people might misunderstand what the class is about. The quote comes at the very beginning of the main text. Therefore, it likely refers to something that comes before the main text. So let's look at the heading. The heading is Marketing with Mark. What does marketing usually mean? It has the same meaning as advertising. In other words, it's the name of the class that might give people the wrong idea that this is a class about advertising. To answer the question correctly, you need to explain that the name or the title of the class includes the word marketing. You can do this in different ways. However, you must make sure your answer fits with the words that are already given. Let's move on to question 33. This is a short response question, which requires you to understand information given in the text. The question asks you to identify the problem with the definition the writer gives when pressed for time. It also tells you that the answer can be found in paragraph 2. We can find a reference to an answer the writer gives when pressed for time in the first sentence of paragraph 2. We can find a question in paragraph 1. What does clean eating entail? In other words, what is the definition of clean eating? In paragraph 2, the writer describes the answer or the definition as short. Is a short definition problematic? No, not really. The writer also describes the answer or definition as oversimplified. If a definition is oversimplified, it means it is too simple. This could be a problem. So, the problematic thing about a writer's definition is that it is oversimplified. Next, question 34. This is a sentence completion question, which requires you to use your own knowledge to make an inference about the text. The question asks you to explain what the writer means by the quote, I must stress that it's not dieting, which can be found in line 5. To answer the question, you need to complete a sentence beginning with, clean eating isn't primarily intended to help you, therefore, your answer needs to start with an infinitive. Let's look at a sentence where the quote appears. The writer explains that clean eating is a holistic approach to diet, but that it's not dieting. So there must be a difference between the noun diet and the verb diet. Your diet is a food and drink that you eat and drink regularly. But if you're dieting, it means you're eating less food or only food of a particular type in order to lose weight. So, now we know the answer to the question. Clean eating isn't primarily intended to help you lose weight. Next, let's look at question 37. This is a 2-part short response question that requires you to understand information that is given in the text. The question asks you to identify 2 issues that people might have with cooking more at home. As question 36 is about the first line in paragraph 3, it is likely that the answers to question 37 can be found in the same paragraph. And yes, the first line does talk about doing more cooking at home. To identify the issues people might have with this, scan the paragraph and look for words and phrases that describe problems. Lines 9 and 10 explain that cooking at home might strike people as unrealistic and intimidating. Intimidating has a similar meaning to frightening. So the first answer is that it might strike them as unrealistic, or they might find it or think it is unrealistic. The second answer is that they might think it is intimidating. Finally, question 44. This is a closed completion question that tests your understanding of some of the main ideas in the text. It requires you to complete a summary of paragraphs 10 to 11 by writing one word taken from these paragraphs in each blank. Note that your answers must be grammatically correct. Let's look at the first sentence in the summary. It is about labels for food products. The indefinite article A tells you that the first answer must be a noun beginning with a consonant sound, and the word class suggests that the second answer might be a school subject. So let's look at paragraph 10. In the first sentence, the writer instructs us to think of the label as a recipe. This seems like a good word for the first blank. Buy products whose labels read more like a recipe has a similar meaning to think of the label as a recipe. So this must be the first answer. Let's go back to the text for the second answer. In lines 33 to 34, the writer contrasts a label that reads like a recipe with one that reads like something out of a chemistry textbook. This might be the second answer. Something you would encounter in chemistry class has a similar meaning to something out of a chemistry textbook, so this must be the second answer. Now, let's look at the second sentence in the summary. It is about local organic produce. It seems likely that these answers can be found in paragraph 11, so let's look at that. In the first sentence, the writer instructs us to buy our agricultural products, that is, our produce, from small local producers. However, buy does not fit grammatically into the sentence in the summary. Is there a better word in the paragraph? You can find buying in line 37 and prioritizing in line 36. These seem like good words for the third blank. Buying local organic produce is similar to buy your agricultural products from local producers. It also fits grammatically with is also. So you can use buying as an answer or prioritizing, which means choosing something over something else. Let's go back to the text for the final answer. In line 37, the writer gives the reason why we should buy from local producers. The fresher the product, the better it is for you. Buying local organic produce is also fresher in every way, doesn't work. But better in every way makes sense and is grammatically correct. Therefore, this must be the final answer.